So, welcome guys to another episode of Nerds4Life SuperCoach. I'm your host Peter, and before we begin with today's episode, I just want to let you know, for those watching it on YouTube, the ones watching it or listening to it on Spotify can't tell. The ones watching this on YouTube can see that my internet has completely shat itself for no reason. I've been working from home all day. Like literally all day I've been working from home, and then as soon as I log on to get to do this, the internet just died. I've reset my internet, I've reset my computer, nothing works. So I'm just gonna have to use my phone as my source of internet, but hopefully things just start working as I... Oh, look at that! There's hope! There's hope! There is hope. I swear I've paid my internet bill. Also, if for those wondering why I'm wearing a beanie, I'm not cold. Oh, something went wrong. I'm not cold. I just didn't feel like doing my hair today because I've been working from home. So, let's begin with today's episode. Before I get kick off, because we've got a big week coming up, please make sure to subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, or if you like this on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, I'm on or X, I'm on all of those things. Also give us a subscribe on Spotify as well, so you don't miss out on more episodes and all the news that I post throughout the week. Now, I promise you some of it is actually good and helpful. Not all, but some of it, surely. So it's a big episode coming up. I want to first mention... It's going to kill me to say it. I want to first mention congratulations to our group winner, Josh, who scored 2,411 for his team, Swallow Wines. No, he doesn't have Swallow, but he did start Wines. I do like the team name. Great week. I say that it's something that is... I'm struggling to say it because I do know him personally, and he did beat me in my main league this week as well, because he was my head-to-head, and I only scored just below him as well. So, things are loading! I think my internet's kicking back in. This is exciting times. I'm just going to hit refresh on literally everything as I crap on, so hopefully it all kicks into gear and I don't have to use my phone too much. Now, there's a lot of trade-ins this week, a lot of primos, a lot of rookies on the bubble, and also some players that we're going to want to trade out. And we've got questions later on in the week too. Look at that. Yay, it's working. Here's my team. Congrats. I won 9 out of my 10 leagues. And yes, that 10th league, the one that I lost to, was Josh, the group winner. Great work, Josh. I'm just bringing up everything slowly. Sorry, because I haven't been able to actually log on until now, so I can actually get my questions up. And it is still not 100% working. But look, we'll leave the SuperCoach, my team up for you guys to see, so at least there's something pretty to look at for until my internet really kicks into gear. Now, we've got some primos currently that are on the bubble that you should be looking at. So these rookies include Darcy Jones from the Giants. He's probably the best trade-in target. He's got a negative 75 break-even. There's already 31,000 coaches that have brought him in. I am actually going to fade Jones, but not because I don't think he's a good target. I'm personally fading him because I want to save the trade. I've just got my eyes on a primo, and I only need to make one trade to do that trade in because I've got cash in the bank. So for me, I'm actually going to fade Jones purely because I just don't want to trade this week. I don't want to make 2 trades. I just want to hold one in reserve, and hopefully that'll help me as the season progresses. But those who are wanting to trade down, Darcy Jones is definitely the best trade-in option. He's got a projected score of 42, but I reckon it'll be higher than that. And he's got a break-even of 75. He's already scored 2 scores of 75 and 70, and that was against Brisbane and Sydney, who are decent matchups, by the way. He's got Essendon this week, who I think he could go bigger again. I think that he's the best target, and obviously 31,000 people in the competition also think that. There are some other options, though. If you are in... I don't know why you'd pick them, but I suppose if you need other options, you've got Cooper Stevens as well. I'm just going to bring this up on my phone because my... let's try it here. Cooper help if I spelt his name right. Oh, it is working. Wow, here we go. He's got a -7 break even. He's played 2 games as well, and he's going up against the Swans this week. But the problem is he scored a 57 and a 17, and only 17 against the Tigers. I'd be fading him. He looked really good this preseason. He's got DDP. He's cheaper at 117k, but I'd be fading him. That 17, the role's not SuperCoach friendly. I mean, neither's Darcy Jones, I suppose, but it's better than this. I wouldn't be picking him at all. The other one this is the guy that I would say, if you're wanting to trade down to for whatever reason, and you want to bring in a second rookie, I would prefer Riley Hardman from North over Cooper Stevens, personally. If my internet lets me bring him up. Let's see. It is not. Going to switch back to the phone. Here we go. Riley Hardman. Now, he's got a -20 break even, and he's the same price. He is a defender, and he's gone... Let's see what he's to... Yeah, he didn't score great last week, but it is better than what Stevens did. So he scored a 50 and a 37. I'd be passing on this guy still, but if you really needed that second trade down, he's your second best option, Riley Hardman. The next one is Daniel Turner. I don't like this pick at all. Man, I'm really bad at spelling today. I don't like this pick at all, personally. He had a really good first game of the season. He scored 101 against the Tigers, but then he followed it up with a whopping 20 against Geelong, and he is a chance to being dropped. So I don't like this at all, but I suppose if you really wanted to take the punt, maybe you really liked his first game, he's only 191k, and he's got a -12 break even. So I guess if for whatever reason you went early on Hardman and you don't need a forward and you really want a defender, Daniel Turner is an option. But I wouldn't be recommending it. The other one that people are going early on is Sullivan. So this is Lachlan Sullivan. He's 26 years old. He's a mature age body. And he actually scored very well last week, a 75 against the Blues. He's got West Coast this week too, which is also promising. And the Pies still have Mitchell and DeGoey, who are most likely missing this week. So he should get a second game. He actually made a few teams of the week from SCN as well, who really were impressed by him. So I think that he's probably a stay for this week. But again, with Mitchell and DeGoey missing, his spot on the side is up for debate. And already 5,500 people have brought it in. I personally don't like going early on Sullivan at all. His job security is not great. McRae, who was absolutely killing it over the preseason, could barely get into this side. What makes you think that Lachlan Sullivan's going to get in? So I personally think that this is a hold. Wait till next week. If he plays his third game, I love it as an M11. Definitely, especially with Jai Clark starting to make cash again. I do like the pick in that regard, but he is 100% wait till next week. I wouldn't be bringing him in this week at all. Now, the next guy I want to talk about is the primos. Now, these are the guys that I want to bring into my side to set my team apart, okay? And the first one is a guy that I faded last week, but I think that he's still got a lot of potential, and he's at a good price still, and that's Darcy Parish. Darcy Parish absolutely killed it against Collingwood at the Anzac Day game, but he always does, I suppose. So that should come as no surprise. My internet's playing up again, so I'll just try to get this up on my phone. Let's see. So he's got a break even of 28, so he's going to skyrocket in price. So if this is probably the look, last week was the optimal week to bring him in, but you're still getting a decent player at 528k. That's $75,000 cheaper than what he started the year off at. He had a really good game as well, by the way, against West Coast. Like, I watched the game thoroughly, and he was just brilliant. He was everywhere. He was much better than Merritt in that first half, and then he slowed up a little bit, but he's really worked himself into some form. His fitness was poor when he entered the season because of an injury. We were all thinking of starting him during the preseason, but because of the injury, we didn't. he's looking good, and he's got a great record. I mean, the Giants are a tough midfield matchup, but without Tom Green, Cogs is still a chance to not play. He might have a really good game. And then he's got North and Richmond after that, before Gold Coast and Carlton are tough, and then West Coast again. Now, I mentioned this last week. Essendon have a really good draw coming up, and if you can, I'd be getting an Essendon player like Parrish into your side. I think he's the number one trade-in target this week. If you're looking for a player that's a little bit on the cheaper side, but you're needing a primo, this is probably the guy to go. Now, number 2, and the reason I put this guy at number 2 is because he's a bit of a risk. Now, I could bring him in. At 476k, I was considering bringing him in, and that's Clayton Oliver. Now, Clayton, I'm still using my phone because this is not working. Clayton Oliver's break even is 48, so he's going to make money regardless. His last game was huge. Another game that I watched, and that was 141 against Geelong. Huge. But I just want to say that he's only turned up one more time before that, and that was against the Dogs. Has played every game this year, and he's only turned up twice. I personally don't think I'm going to make it. I wish I could show you. I wish that SuperCoach is working. Yes. Early trade idea. This is what I want to show you if it loads. It's not going to load. So I was thinking of trading in both Oliver and Stewart this week at the start of the week. It's still not working. I was thinking of bringing Stewart and Oliver this week, but I have decided against it, and I'm most likely going to be making a different decision, and I'll go into that later on. Look, at the moment, I think Oliver is a one more week. If he goes up, hypothetically, if he goes up and by a projected of 20k, he's still below 500k. He could still be below 500k by the end of this week. Because the Blues, they're a tough midfield matchup. So there's a really good chance that he does not perform. I'm putting him at number 2, but I don't like it. When it comes to value, I suppose, at this time of the year, he is the most valuable. So if you can't get a Parrish, I suppose Oliver is a good second option. But I still don't love the pick myself. I'd be going Parrish over Oliver in general. Now, number 3 trade-in, this is Christian Petrarca. However, I actually don't love this selection either. And the reason I'm picking him at number 3 is because I've watched the last 2 Melbourne games. Okay, he played against Richmond and he got tagged out by Marlon Pickett and looked shit. He just looked shithouse. And then I watched him against the Cats, and he was around the football. He just wasn't getting it. He just wasn't being used. He preferred to be on the outside and try to get the cheap handball rather than going into the pack like Oliver was doing against the Cats. Oliver was getting the contested possessions. Petrarca wasn't. He was kind of waiting on the outside, trying to get the easy possession. He looked really average against the Cats. I can't believe he scored a 94. I genuinely cannot. But there we go! My trade's up. For anyone watching this on YouTube, you can see my trades, my potential early trades. I was considering bringing him in, Oliver and Stewart, as I mentioned, but I'm now probably not doing that, and I will go against it. So the reason I am not particularly liking the trade-in is because he has looked average the last couple of weeks, but if his floor... he's actually the last 3 weeks, he scored a 59 against Brisbane, and then he's backed it up with 2 more sub-tons, a 93 against the Tigers and a 94 against Geelong. He does not look great. He really does not look great. And I brought him in for the Richmond game, because I thought he was going to go absolutely nuts. Now, his break-even's 127, so it's still high. You could wait another week. But then there's a good chance that this could be his bounce-back game. He's got West Coast the week after. So if you are thinking of bringing in Petrarca, it's either this week or next week, because it will be the Eagles matchup. He'll probably go 120, 130. The thing is, when he has gotten the ball in those games, he's fantastic. he uses the ball so well. So when he does get it, he's great. It's just that he's not getting it at the moment, which is the concern. So look, keep an eye out on him. He's probably my third trade-in option for the week if you're wanting to trade up to a player when it comes to value. I'm talking about value picks here. He is my third option for value this week. Now the next one is drop my pen. Let's pick that up. Yeah. The next one is Tom Stewart. Now, he is the other guy that I was considering, but the reason I'm going against it is because his break-even is actually surprisingly kind of high still. Let's take a look and bring him up. I don't think it's... I'll try to bring him up on my... Oh, I'll try to bring him up on the PC for those watching this on YouTube so it doesn't look like I'm just on my phone. Man, if I learned how to spell, that would really help. No! It's not quite working. Alright, so Tom Stewart's break-even's 132 this week. He's got Port. It's a decent matchup. Okay? His last 3 games against Port are 134, 91, 122. So it's a decent score. He's got a decent record. He is playing at GMS, and he's... Look, the 104 last week was decent. Before his concussion week, he was averaging 104.6, so it's not bad, but he hasn't really had... He's only had one game of 134 that has really impressed me. So for me, I'm going to wait one more week. At 523k, you're probably not going to get him too much cheaper, especially if he goes big. But with that break even, you can afford to wait another week and see if he tons up again. The problem is, see, the Cats have been using Holmes quite a lot out of there. Holmes has gone back-to-back hundreds. They've also been priming Zach Guthrie back there, who's been doing a great job. And then they've been... Is it Zach Guthrie or Cam? No, Cam Guthrie is the other one. Zach Guthrie back there, and then they've been using Mitch Duncan up down there as well. And that... I mean, yes, Stewart is still taking majority of the kick-ins, but he's sharing the load with Holmes, with Guthrie, with Duncan, and that has caused his floor to kind of reduce and his ceiling to reduce a little bit too. I still think he's got the chance to be a top 6 defender, but I would like to see another solid game from him before I bring him in. I think he's good value, but again, you could probably wait another week. Now, if you're in the mood for a forward, if you're looking for... Let's just say your back line looks amazing and you're really looking for a forward, I think that the guy that you need to bring in, and already 3,185 coaches have done it, is a Dane Zorko. Now, his position did change over the last couple of weeks prior. My internet is still not working. Why is that the case? Alright, so he's got a break-even 102. He's got a projected score of 112, and he went a whopping 160 last week. Prior to that, he did have that 56 against the Giants where he was playing predominantly at half forward. But before that, he was in pretty good form, scoring 130, 116, 96, 127, 78, and 105. He's still averaging 108.5, so he's got a good average, and he's still 559k, but he's probably going to float around that price. I can't see him going up too much further this week because his break-even's still around that 100 mark. So maybe just keep an eye out on his role. However, if you've got, you know, let's just say your midfield's complete and your backline's complete and you're looking pretty good, I don't mind bringing him in. So it depends on your team, but I wouldn't be... I'd be looking at that role one more time. He's got Richmond and Hawthorn after that, and then the Dogs and St Kilda. So if he's playing that half back line, he's going to be doing really well over the next 4 games after Adelaide. So keep an eye out on his role. I think that he's a trade-in target for next week. Now, the other guy that I really want to look at next week is a Dan Houston. He's got a huge break-even of 148. He'll be 5... He's already sub... No, he's just over 600k. He'll be sub 600k next week. So that's someone that I want to really talk about next week. Now, these are the guys that... Now, next, I want to talk about trade-outs. So, guys that I'll be keeping and guys that I'll be trading out. Now, I think that Roberts is done. Roberts is probably done. Roberts was the guy that I'm trading out this week, and I'm bringing in the primo of my choice this week. He's got a really high break even, and he's probably not going to score it because he's had a role change. He was playing predominantly all day on the wing. So if you go look at his heat map against... Who did he play against? I can't even remember who he played against. Who did he play against? He played against the Giants. He was playing along the wing. I think he spent some wing time against the Hawks as well the week prior to that. Now, he's got Freo this week. It's actually a decent matchup. Oh, sorry, he's got... yeah, he's got Freo this week. It's actually a decent matchup. I think with the break even of 107, he's a trade out. And it's time. I mean, he was great. He's done a great job for us, but it's time to trade him out. I'm keeping Fife. Now, a lot of people are trading out Nat Fife. Already 6,785 coaches have traded him out. He's got a high break even. He was the sub last week and he scored a 17. And it did kill me because I was at Greek Easter last week and I didn't get to see that news because I was busy and I had to field Garcia's 66 on my bench while Fife scored 17. So I could have been, 49 points better off, which is annoying. Had I have seen the news, but it is what it is. Look, he was playing against the Tigers. He just came off his best score since 2021, I think it was. I think it was even earlier. I think it was 2021 was the last time he scored, last time he did so well in a game, in terms of disposals. The role is there. Okay, he's gone 100 plus 3 times. His floor of 81 and 89 against Port Adelaide and West Coast isn't bad either. Look, the 69s against North and Adelaide, it's not terrible. Look, our forward line is thin. If Nat Fife is your biggest issue, then trade him out. However, if you've got other injury issues this week or other players that are maxing out, such as maybe even Cloese or a Roberts, they're the guys you should be trading out first, not a Nat Fife. Nat Fife could turn out to be a keeper still. He really could. He scored an average game only because of the sub. But you take that out, he was averaging 90. So I don't mind it. They rested him because he was playing Richmond. They knew they were going to smash Richmond. And that was the only reason they rested him. I can see him having a pretty decent comeback game now after a week off. And his last two against Sydney haven't been great, but that's because he had the forward role, not the midfield role. His last time he had a midfield role, he scored 124 against them. So, you know what? I'm holding Fife. But again, I understand if you are trying to trade him out, if you can make something out of him, go for it, I suppose. But Roberts is definitely the main trade out. He's done making money. If you've got Sharp as well, he's done too. So he's probably the other guy that I'd be saying. Berry is done too. Cadman. If you've got all of those guys, they are definite trade outs before you think of Nat Fife. We've got a few injuries as well this week. Tom Green has turned out and has come out and said on radio this week that he's most likely unlikely to play, which is annoying. You got Zach Williams as well, who's got an injury cloud. We've got Sweet, who also has been ill, however, could still play this week. It's just that he's in doubt. We've got Libba, who's out indefinitely. We've had some Brisbane boys get injured, but Lincoln McCarthy and Gardner, but they're not SuperCoach relevant. I've dropped my pen again. So I don't think that's really an issue SuperCoach-wise. So there are injuries. Yo as well is probably a trade out. It's a two-weeker at the moment, but we know his injury history. I probably would be trading out Elliot. You've made a decent amount of cash. You could basically buy any defender. And with someone like Tom Stewart, for example, who you could just sort of trade in straight away, or even a Dan Houston who's still got a low ownership, you can make something out of that trade. Now, one positive SuperCoach injury result this week, since the injury list has been released, is Zach Reid. Zach Reid is listed as a test. His 4 to 6 week injury, which lasted 8 weeks, could be over with him listed as a test. Now, he's got that 15 from round 1 in his price cycle. Oh well, no big deal because it's the first game in that rolling average. So by his 4th game, that should be out. Hopefully he comes back through the AFL immediately and we can stop scoring zeros on our defensive bench. But if he comes back through the VFL, he'll hopefully be in the AFL side within the next couple of weeks. So that's great. Now let's move on to questions this week. So let's see if this works. It may work. If not, I'll have to bring it up. I'll have to bring it up on my phone. I have a feeling the internet is not going to work. Yep, no, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. No internet. Nice. Cool. So there's no internet once again, so I will get this up on my phone. Let's see. So, questions on Don't You Just Love Live Podcasting? Give me a sec. Alright, we're going to go to Facebook first, and we've had a few questions. So, Chris Pritchard, is Darcy Jones a must-get rookie? Have no room for him on my forward bench unless I trade out R. Garcia, who has plenty of cash still to be made and has been scoring okay. My answer to that is he's not a must-have. If you have a decent cash gen on your bench, then just leave it at that. No need to. You'll have someone else to bring in next week. I don't think he's a must-have. I think he's scoring well, but if you've got Riley Garcia already, just hold on to Riley Garcia. Myself, I could trade up Mana, for example, into him, and that would probably be good for my cash gen. But I like Mana as a loop option and as well as a forward DDP option that I can move around. So for me, I'm just going to hold on to him. Plus, he's on his bubble. He'll play eventually. Carl Lurch. Seeing a few people trading out Cloese, do you think he's got more cash gen left? I actually was genuinely considering trading out Cloese. He's probably got another 10, 20k to make unless he has a spike game. The role is good. His role is good, so he could potentially have another spike game and then he starts that cash generation again. He's playing North, so I wouldn't be trading him out this week. I know already 3,747 coaches have traded him out. Against North, I can see him hitting his break-even. His break-even is a 58. I can see that. I can see him probably exceeding that. Significantly exceeding that. And he goes 90. Then he kind of starts that cash gen again. You can probably hold him for a couple of weeks. I wouldn't be trading out Cloese yet. Yes, he's still got money to make. It's a small amount. Unless he goes up a lot in value, it is a small amount. Unless he has a spike game, that is. But, yeah, no. Let's see how we go. I'd be trading him in a couple of weeks. Edward Raymond, hold yo? Question mark. No, I think that he's a trade out. He's a 2-week injury, and with his injury history, that 2 weeks can still become a 3 to 4 week injury. I know they say 2 weeks, but if he's not 100% in 2 weeks, they won't risk him. He's in insane form, but we knew this injury was coming. It was never a matter of if he got injured. It was always a matter of when, and the when is now. You've made a bunch of cash. You can swing to anybody. If you could try to get a Luke Ryan, because his break-even is super low at the moment, just pay the extra, 40k? Like, what's his price differential? Let's see. Also, Luke, actually, I didn't mention him earlier. Luke Ryan's probably a huge trade-in, by the way. 602k. If you can get that extra 42k, I'd be doing it. He's also got a really high break-even, so he could be out. He could come back when he comes back and not do as well. So so for someone like Luke Ryan, he's got a 64 break-even. He had a massive 197 score on the weekend. So I personally will. I think it's time to move on. Reese Fitzpatrick, Sinclair genuine target with his mid-roll. Not with his mid-roll. I don't particularly like it. A mid-roll is not always a good thing for defenders. Sinclair scores better off halfback. His last couple of games have been decent, but remember, one was against North. Look, he's got the Hawks this week, and He's got a 59 break even, so if you're going to take the punt, it is probably this week against the Hawks. He should still score okay. I don't particularly love the pick, personally. I would be preferring Sinclair off a halfback rather than the Sinclair midfielder. I mean, you can still do it. He's a bit of a POD. He's not got a high ownership at the moment. What is he? He doesn't have a high ownership at the moment at all. He did go 124 against the Tigers. He seems to just be beating like the lower teams. His scores against Collingwood, Essendon, GWS, and Port were really average. So I don't mind it, but I would be preferring a Stewart, personally. I'd be preferring a Stewart, who's cheaper, by the way. Yeah, I'd be preferring a Stewart, or trading up, trying to get a Houston or a Luke Ryan. Definitely before I go for someone like him. Oliver Terhorst. Hold or trade Yo, bring in Clary. Thoughts on Parrish? Okay, well, we've already spoken about them. I think Parrish is a lock. If you want to bring him in, this is the week to do it, because you've now got 2 games of solid data. Last week was his best price, but you only had 1 game to really go off. He's now shown that he is back, and he's looking great. He's passed the eye test. He looks fantastic, super fit. I'm not bringing him in purely because of my buy structure. If I bring in another Essendon or Melbourne player, or even a Cat, I'm in trouble buy-wise. This is why another reason I'm passing up on Stewart, because my buy structure will be fucked if I've got Holmes, Stewart, Merritt, Petrarca, Oliver, Parrish, and Martin all missing in the same week. So fuck that. I've decided to pass because of that reason. I'd be waiting another week on Clary just to see what he does against Carlton. It's decent. It's a tough matchup midfield wise, and Yo is a trader. Daniel Liness, how many trades do you think we should still have? Don't want to burn through them. You should have more than me. All right. If you've got less than 20, stop trading. Just stop. Don't make any unnecessary trades. Look. For me, I like to burn through my trades until I'm hoping to finish my side with hopefully 10 trades left after buys. That is my goal. My goal is to have 10 trades left after buys. So I'm going to be slowing up significantly over the next week. I'm probably going to do a double trade, and then I'm probably not going to make any more trades. So it's so side. It depends on your side. I've burned through trades this year because I've had the worst start to a season ever. I just had a really bad team. Just a really bad team. Every 50%, every 50-50 target that I had to start my year has been horrible because it's gone the other way. Like picking, Short, for example, over basically everybody was shit. So that's probably why. Granted, I'm in the top 4K, so I'm kind of doing okay. I'm not doing alright, but I will run out of trades eventually, so I can't keep that momentum going. So just look, if you've got less than 20, maybe don't trade anymore for a bit. Melbourne midfielders is target Clary or Petrarca. Based on eye test alone, Clary. Petrarca looked, honestly, so average the last 3 games. It is frustrating as an owner to watch him. He was just frustrating. He's not getting... He just wants to sit on the outside and hope that his teammates give him the ball, which I know is the type of player he is. But honestly, he just looks shit. He just looks really shit. But you know what? I think that he's probably the safer option because he looks shit and he's still scoring 90s. So when he does have a good game, he's probably going to score 150 very soon. And Melbourne actually have a decent draw coming up. So I don't mind it. But yeah, look, Oliver in terms of value, track probably is the safer pick. Let's see. Oh, this is a long one. NJ Convey. Who goes first? Decam or Roberts, and why? D'Ambrosio or Roberts? Now, I haven't even thought about D'Ambrosio because I traded him out a couple of weeks ago, I think. D'Ambrosio. let's take a look. So Mass's break even is 94, but he's got the Saints this week. He's come off 2 really shit scores. Tough. It is tough. Look, the Saints do concede big scores against halfbacks. You could... Look, if you could only trade out one, I'd be trading out Roberts and then holding Massimo one more week, because he should score okay against the Saints. So even if he does go down in price, it won't be that much. I think that Roberts will start to really bleed cash from this point forward. Purely from a matchup wise, yeah, keep Mass. Number 2, so he's got a couple of questions here. I'll be trading one of the above. Dempsey, the other, unless news is bad on Yo Fife Green. Fife is fine. He'll play this week. I doubt he'll be sub again. Green is a 1-weeker and Yo is a 2-weeker. We've already discussed this. Jones comes in as the rookie and thinking I finally bring in Heaney. Any reason it shouldn't be him? He gives me mid-forward link to about 4 players in my forward line, which I currently don't have. Okay, so that's important. DDP is important to you with your forward line. I think I'm just looking to why I shouldn't have pulled the trigger on him, as we have been burnt before. Yeah, I've been burnt before with him as well, but I've also had a really good season. So I had him in 2022, and he was fantastic. I've had him all year this year, and he's scoring 131. Look, at 639k, it is a bit of a... It is a risk. I mean, I don't mind the pick. His break even's 135. He's got Freo. He should do well against Freo. I'm going to be honest, his lowest score is at 98. It's just... He's the most informed player in the competition. Like, just pick him. I mean, Luke Parker might come back this week, but Luke Parker spent the last 2 weeks in the VFL. And he was dominating in the VFL. Like, if Luke Parker's not selected, then really Heaney is such a huge lock-in. I like the pick. I think even with Luke Parker coming back into the side, Heaney is probably still going to be averaging well over 100. He is the number 1 ranked forward at the moment, and even with Parker coming in, Mills is now going to be late in the year. I think that, yeah, he's a top 6 forward, definitely. So I don't mind it. You could wait for him to have an average game maybe and he drops a little bit in price. But it really depends. If you really want that... Look, do you have Flanders? If you don't have Flanders, I'd picking Flanders. Okay? Purely for the same reasons that you want Heaney, but he's cheaper. And maybe wait for Heaney to score a bad game, but if you really want Heaney, just pick Heaney. I'm not gonna be trying to convince you otherwise, honestly. Otherwise, could bring in someone like Stewart and have 6 primos in defence, Dacos in midfield. Ooh, I don't mind that. Ooh, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind having 6 primos in your defence and having a Dacos in the midfield at all. That's pretty cool. Mate, honestly, I think you're good either way. I honestly think you're good either way. Heaney is a top 6 forward, okay? At the moment, he's a top 6 midfielder at the moment. Just have Heaney. Just have Heaney. Just do Heaney. Pull the trigger on Heaney. Don't think about it anymore. I'm done. Pull the trigger on Heaney, mate. Go for Heaney. Now, going to Twitter, because we've got a couple on Twitter. Not too many, but a couple. Let's see. All right. Okay, so we've got Green Eggs and Ham, who's asked Sheasel to Luke Ryan. Sheasel has had a role change, a midfield forward role change, which could affect his scoring, but who's to say that he doesn't get his other role back? I'd be waiting another week or 2 before pulling the trigger on Sheasel, personally. Up until this point, he's been, the 2nd or 3rd best defender of the competition. I wouldn't be trading out Sheasel. Luke Ryan is a must, but I wouldn't be trading out someone like Harry Sheasel for Luke Ryan. Also, thoughts trading out Harley Reid. I don't like that at all. last week we were talking about Harley Reid being a keeper. Everyone was talking about Harley Reid being a keeper. I don't see why this has changed all of a sudden. His break even is 42. He should hit that, which means he's probably going to make another 20k. Look, he had an average game against Essendon, scored a 59. Yes, it was a tough day in all fairness. But he just come off 108, 147 and a 91 in the 3 games prior against Sydney, Freo and Richmond. He's got a tough draw coming up against the Pies in Melbourne, but the Pies do have some midfield outs. Look, I think you can hold on to Reid purely because our forward line's shit anyway. So it depends who you're going to. If you can turn Harley Reid into Luke Ryan, I like that. I do like that. You do that, that's fine. But trading out Harley Reid to a Jones, for example, like a Darcy Jones, I don't like that at all. But if you're turning Harley Reid into Darcy Jones and then you're trading another rookie like a Roberts to a Luke Ryan, I think that mathematically works. Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Again, depends who you're trading him out for. Now, that's it. That's it for questions for the week. Thanks, everyone. I'll make sure to submit more questions. Hopefully I answered them okay for next week. Now, I want to go through captain choices for this week. Now, personally, my favourite captain choice of the round is... I'm just going to see... Can I still don't have any fucking internet. Fuck me. I don't even know who my captain... Let's just go back to this. I'm picking for my VC, I'm going to have Bont. And then I'm also picking Dacos as C. Now, as if Bont fails. Now, we've got Melbourne versus Carlton tomorrow night at the MCG on Thursday. I don't like anyone from this game because you can't trust Clary based off one game. And Petrarca's a bit shit. You could go Walsh, but Walsh has had a couple of down games after his couple of big ones. So I don't like it. And Cripps has been meh. I personally don't think that there are good options in that game at all. Now, Friday night, Port Adelaide take on Geelong. This is where I think there's a good captain option. Rosie's out. So Rosie's going to have an injury for the next couple of weeks, which means that Butters is the captain now for at least a week or two. And you know what? The Cats don't have the best midfield. I think that we could see a big spike game from Butters. And I'd be picking Butters from this game. If you've got Butters as the VC, I don't mind it. And you can't do a later option like a Bontempelli, I don't mind it. Then you've got Fremantle take on Sydney, also on Friday night. This game's odd that it's also so late on a Friday. Sarong, I like. Heaney, I like. But I mean, also Luke Ryan, I suppose, is a great option too. But I still think that Butters the game prior is probably the better option. But if you don't have Butters, I don't mind Sarong, and I also don't mind Heaney. Then, on Saturday, you've got Hawthorn take on St Kilda, and I personally don't like anyone from this game, and I'd be avoiding this game in general at all costs. St Kilda, sorry, it's not St Kilda, well, GWS, or the Orange team, take on Essendon at Marvel Stadium after that on Saturday. With no Tom Green and no Cogs, I really like Zach Merritt in this game. I really do, actually. But Parrish as well, I could see both of those guys having an absolute field day against the Giants. So, you know what? I don't mind either of those guys. I've got Merritt, but I think that the VC option is later in the round. North Melbourne take on Gold Coast is up next. And if you've got Matt Rowell, expect a big comeback. Also, you've got Miller, you've got Anderson, you've got Flanders. You can do really well with it. I don't like anyone from North, but you can do really well from that game, personally. But Gold Coast looked putrid in that first half against Brisbane on Sunday night last week. Brisbane looked fantastic. That was the best game Brisbane had played for the season. But it also happened to be the worst half that Gold Coast had for the season. They looked shit. They just looked absolutely terrible. So I personally wouldn't be picking a Sun because of that. And again, look, I can see a Rail coming back, and I don't think North could really have an answer for Rail. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one. I'd be refraining from putting a VC on anyone from that game if you've got Bontempelli, because the Tigers are even worse. Honestly, they are shit at the moment. They have no midfield. They basically don't have any team, and the Dogs. Even if without Libba, someone like Bont could get a Marlon Pickett tag, but Bont is just too big for Pickett. Honestly, I thought that Libba would probably get a tag before him, but Libba's out, so he probably goes with a Jack McRae. If he goes with anyone, I don't know. The tag didn't work last week. Sarong and Brayshaw had huge games, so I don't think that's an issue at all. He went 153 against Richmond in 2023, and he went 122 before that and 136. Honestly, Bont is the guy for this week. He's the guy that I'm picking as my VC option. Let's take a look at English. Yeah, English has got a good record. He went 112 and 145 against them last year, and then a 96, but... And he's in really good form too, by the way. But I just think Bont's better. I really do. I just think Bont's going to have an absolute day out against the Tigers, and he is my VC option for the week. Now, going back... Now, the C I am going... Now, I would... Look, if they didn't happen simultaneously, I'd probably be putting my VC on Raul and my C on Bont. But I can't do that because they're both 7:30 games, and that's stupid and it doesn't work. So... That's why I'm fading everyone from Gold Coast, because I think Bont's going to go bigger. Sunday, this is where my captaincy choice is going to be, and that is Collingwood take on the Eagles. Nick Dacos. I don't understand how you could pass up on Nick Dacos in this game. He just came off a 150 against the Blues, and he's now playing arguably one of the bottom three sides of the competition. I think the bottom three sides of the competition are Richmond, North, and West Coast, personally. And also, I think on the ladder, the top they're not. Those three are just battling it out for the wooden spoon this season. And I think Nick Dacos is going to have a big game if Bontempelli doesn't score well. And also with Mitchell and so what is it with Mitch? He's got Mitchell out still, and DeGoey, he's the main man. And I mean, he's the main man anyway, but he's even more so now. Brisbane take on Adelaide. I don't particularly overly like anyone from this game. Dawson went sub 100 again. Laird looks good, but also went sub 100, I think. I don't love it. But now that we're on this game, I'm going to talk about my trade-in targets. That is Lachie Neale. I think Lachie Neale's going to have a huge next few weeks. Brisbane have a great record coming up. So instead of going Stewart and Oliver this week, I decided to go up a little bit higher and get Lachie Neale at sub 600k after a 168 score. He looks fantastic this year. He's having a very quiet season. No one's talking about him, but he's having a really consistent one. He is their best player. He just is. He's better than Dunkley in every way. He just is. That's why he's won 2 Brownlows. But the thing is, Brisbane have that good record coming up. And I would rather see Lachie Neale, I think, at the moment at M8 than Oliver at M8, purely because Oliver's only had really one good game. And that's the reality of it. He's only really had one good game. While Neale's had all his games have been good. I think he had one bad game this season. Let's bring that up. He had one bad game this year, and I think it was a 90 score. Yeah, he scored a 71 against the Giants. That's pretty bad, actually. That was pretty bad. Okay, so he scored a 71 against the Giants, right? That's what Oliver's been scoring every other week, basically. So I think that you're pretty safe with Neale. Like, he's gone 112, 129, 125, 109, 109, 71, but then 168. And then he's got Adelaide this week, but after that he's got Richmond and Hawthorn. He can have a really big score. He can have really big scores. But the other thing is, if he doesn't get injured, obviously, because, it's a long season, but he's got his best opponent. So this is the opponent that he has scored the most against. Career. And that is Essendon to finish off the year. This is your SuperCoach Grand Final. This is your SuperCoach end of season, right? And he is playing his best opponent at the end of the year. And I'd rather have him at M8 playing against Essendon at season's end than anyone else. So I'm going to be bringing in Lachie Neale this week, and then most likely looking towards Dan Houston next week as well. So instead of having Stewart and Oliver in this week, I'm opting to have Neale this week, Houston next week, because I can't afford both in 1 week. And therefore I think that my D6 is better by having Houston come in, and my M8 will be better by having Neale come in. Personally, I just think that these are better choices. They're also better in terms of my buy structure. Please start to look at your buy structures as you're starting to bring in primos. If you've got a shitload of Melbourne and Essendon and Geelong players like I do, you're going to be in trouble come round 14. Okay? So that's another reason why I'm not bringing in Oliver and Stewart, because it's going to kill me in a few weeks. I'm going to have 11 players playing if I do that. So for me, Lachie Neale is better for my buy structure, and so is Dan Houston, so that's why I'm bringing those guys in for the next couple of weeks. Anyway, that's me. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Please make sure to subscribe on YouTube, give us a like on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X, and also on Spotify. I'll be back same time, same place next week. Thank you.